4 churches have responded. 3 are going to really piss you off. 1 is probably going to bring you to tears. The 3 that are going to piss you off really just shows it's the church leaders that are the problem. I'm going to save the best for last and start with Germantown Baptist Church. This is the one where she called and they're like, yes, we have a benevolence program, but it's for active members only. Are you a member of the church? No, sorry, we can't help your starving baby. For accountability, he calls the woman who called the office asking just for a small can of baby formula, calls her a folly, saying women are seductive, they know not what they do. Basically just blames her for his church failing to help a baby in need, and then says, I'm going to have my own social experiment. Raise your hand if a woman walked in right now and needed formula, if you'd be willing to help. And then 2 very interesting things are shown. First off, the woman filming this, thank goodness, because I wouldn't have believed it if I hadn't seen it with my own eyes. A total of like 6 hands get raised in his entire congregation. It then pans to the whole congregation and you see that there's barely anyone in this church. Overlooking the fact that very few people who showed up for this service raised their hand willing to help a mother in need, was barely anyone in attendance to begin with. This was one of the mega churches. People are wondering if enough members of this congregation of Germantown Baptist Church saw what their church was unwilling to do and are simply no longer attending Sunday service. Brings me to Waverly Church of Tennessee, another church that told her no, and we now have a copy of the letter that the leader of this church sent out, complete with the name of the pastor who sent it out, exactly how he too is manipulating this entire situation so that him and his church take zero accountability for them being unwilling to help a 2-month-old that was starving, and placing all of the blame on the woman who's just trying to see what churches are truly churches. Church number 3, and my personal least favorite church, because this is in the state of Louisiana, in Baton Rouge. This is where I'm from, and this really pissed me off. This is Bishop Raymond W. Johnson. Again, another mega church. One of the mega churches that airs their sermons online for you to see. They also have a Facebook page. He goes on to say some horrible things about how his church was proven to be unwilling to help a 2-month-old in need.
We had a little situation. Y'all know if it was up to me, I would have been unplugged social media a long time ago. It's just a playground for good things, but also evil. So as much good as you can get out of it, you get a lot of evil. And the person who goes around calling churches and putting the voice of a baby crying in the background, and I say, really the person is low. Like I teach these men over here, folk want to apologize. I don't apologize to the devil. Sometimes Christians get so weak, you forgot we're supposed to rebuke evil. How to call churches and they trick people into things. I don't have a big box of money that I sit there and just tell them to pass by. Our staff gives money out of their pocket. Just the spirit of a witch. It's a witch. And my Bible says he do not allow that thing to live. So you have to watch when you fooling with God. I told him I had my scripture, Daniel chapter 5. What happened when you mess with the people of God? You taking your life into your own hand.
He called this woman who showed that this church was unwilling to help a baby in need, calls her the devil, calls her a witch, not once, but twice, threatens her, calls her low, says he was tricked, the church was tricked, and that his entire congregation should rebuke this woman who just showed that his church was unwilling to help a mother in need. Now it's time to get your tissues out, because this is the best one out of the 4 churches who responded.
I thank God for it, because I love ministry. I've always loved ministry. If you told me, that $95,000 would go into my church, a church that we take in about $22,000 or $23,000 a month, if you told me that $95,000 would flow in 6 or 7 days, I'd have said, you're crazy. Both if it did, I'd be shouting. Why is it strange? Why is it noticeable that the church did the right thing? Thank God for that. Because we're his people, and when we have the right to his name, so when our name is lifted up, his name is also lifted up.
Why does this man's voice sound so familiar? This is the leader of the very small church that was not only willing to help out a starving child, he's the one who took out a pen and paper and said exactly what flavor formula do you need, because I'm going to take care of you and your child. When he was addressing this social experiment, you heard that right. His church has received over $90,000 in donations to thank him for being a truly godly person. And on top of that, his sermon was, why is it not normal for churches to help a hungry child in need? Genius behind this entire social experiment drove all the way to this small church to meet the man who was willing to help her and a starving 2-month-old, not asking if she was a member, if she had donated to the church, if she was even saved. He was simply willing to help her because she was a person in need, and he was not going to let a child go hungry. So just like Raymond W. Johnson said in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, what happens when you mess with the people of God? You do in fact take your life in your own hands. And while he is being exposed for being the leader of a church unwilling to help a child in need, this man and his church are receiving God's blessings tenfold. He goes on to share he is going to give to his community and make sure that if he can help it, no child in his community is going to go hungry. Thanks to the donations his church has received for simply being willing to help someone in need.